Okay, so we will start. So welcome everybody to this first public update on YouTube. We want to try something new today. Don't hesitate to use the chat on your right to ask questions, just share yourself anything that you have. Hello Sim System, how are you doing? So today the objective is to show you the new update of Olympe Draw in 2.9. And for this, I will go over the release notes and just read, so we can read them together. And then I prepared also a small demo app, so I can showcase the different improvements that we have directly in Draw. So here I am on the support website, and I can find the release note here. So let's start. So indeed, the 2.1 is the August release, as we call it. And let's dive right into it. So I will do the no downtime deployment at the end. Let's jump first to the Spec&Doc editor, which received, which is actually completely new for the data type and was also improved for the other Spec&Doc editor that we had. So let me go in Draw. So here I have a small project, and down here I have a data model. And today I will do a demo using some movies and genre for the genre of the movies. So before, you would create your data type by drag and dropping here. You can put some properties in it. You can create a relation like this. But it was basically all you can do here. You can also, find the usage of your data type, of your properties, but there were no possibility to put any documentation about your type, how to use it, what it represents. So today it's possible by going right here in the Spec&Doc. And you will arrive in this new editor, which looks a lot alike the logic Spec&Doc and the component Spec&Doc. It's actually the same principle. So you can find again and edit your data type name here. You can put a summary, a description about your type. You have access now. What is new is also to, is your type experimental? Is it deprecated? The people should use a new one and stuff like this. The public and private visibility of a data type is now accessible from here. And down here we access the Spec&Doc, so we can edit each properties and relation from here. And the principle is the same. I can create a new property like this if I want. I can give it a description if I want. For relation, same principle. For inheritance, same principle. And you cannot edit the incoming relation directly here, but you can. You will see if a data type has a relation to this one. And then we have this new little eye here, where you can see your documentation directly also in the marketplace. So if somebody imports your library with a data type, he or she will be able to see how to use it exactly. So that's about this new feature. So there is more details here in the release note, but that's the main focus. So really this possibility to create a documentation for data type and config data type today also. A nice addition that we have is the ability to reorganize the property orders. So if I go back in Draw, in Spec&Doc, before your properties, especially in data type, were always alphabetically ordered, and you had no possibility to change that. And now you can, by using this little handle here. For example, if I want my rating to be at the end, I can just drag and drop like this. And this is very nice, and a very nice change, because the previous way was a bit more clunky to reorder. Also, if you still want to have the same possibility as before, so alphabetic order, you have this button to put it directly like this. Actually, I want to have my title first and the rating at the end, so I just change it like this. And this change was also done. So if I create, for example, a new coded action here. But yeah, as I said, if I an input A, an input B, and an input C, here also I have this new reordering improvement, which is very nice and much faster than before. So let me remove this one. Next, what we have is the ability to lock anonymous function. So before we were already able to protect our function or component. So for example, here we can see this action is protected. And how you will do that before? So if you would go to the Spec&Doc, you can find this toggle here to put, if you are a maintainer, the action as protected or not, which means only maintainer can edit it and the developer and viewer of your project cannot anymore. So this is a nice way to protect like a critical part of your application. Now what has changed is that you have also an access directly to this toggle here, if you are a maintainer, to protect and unprotect. And also if I go, for example, I just reload my project. If I go also in anonymous function, for example, I have a map in my action. If I create a sub1 here, before it was not possible to protect it, and now you also have access to this button to protect sub action actually. So if I go here, we can see it's protected. And the same applies to a button onclick or a screen onload. Here my onclick of this button is already protected, so I'll see it just here. And if I go inside, same principle, we will see this little button here. Next one, dynamic config parameter. So this one is more about backends. So it's the possibility, so as you know, any application that front-end or backend has a static configuration, which is in this oconfig.json file. And before, when you were changing your parameters for a backend, it had to restart the backend to take into account the changes that you made. So no, this is not the case anymore. You can change your config and the backend will detect the change without having to restart. So this is very nice to reduce the downtime of your backends. It's also possible to do it in the front, for example, to change the default host or the logger here. Actually, I can try it. Let me copy this. If I go into my small application here, let me open the console. Oops. If I add a new movie, for example, here, we don't see anything here. Let's try to change the config live. Now if I add a movie, we see that we change correctly actually this config value without having to reload. So let me put it back like this. But this is way more useful actually for the backend. So this is a very nice news for everybody that does a lot into a backend. Also about the backends, we split the readiness and the liveness check. So before we had only a readiness check. So in your application you were able in code or in draw to register an health check, which is run each second for this one and check if your backend is correct. And before we only had this ready, so when is the application, the backend ready to be used, but there were no check while the backend was running. So now we have also a liveness check, which check regularly if the application is still in a good shape or not. And so this is very specific to the backend. I don't have a demo about it, but this is a nice way to make your backends more robust and detect any issue sooner. Next one is this new command behavior. So this is a very quality of life feature. If I go here, So before, if I wanted to add comment into my action here, I had to go into the marketplace, type the start of comment, and then I can create a new comment. This was a lot of steps just to add a comment, so instead we added this small button here, add a comment, which directly adds a new comment. So it will be much easier to document what your action actually do. And by the way, if you don't know, comment can also be changed into to-do. And this to-do, if I go into the Insight tab here and I check the to-do filter, I can find all the to-do across my application. So this is a nice way to not lose track of a part that you need to work on. The next one is a better display of long strings. So this is also a quality of life one, a very nice one. So I set up a small example here. Basically, I don't know if you remember, but before, when you had like a very long string in one of your inputs, it would take all the place that it needs to be shown. Now this is not the case anymore. Now we crop basically the end and add these 3 dots. And when you hover it, you will see a bit more. And also you have more information like the type of the value. And also what is nice is you can double click to copy the value. So here, if I add a comment, I just copied the content of this string. And this works for any type. So here I have a constant number, we see type number, and I can copy it. Color the same. Actually, if I double click this one, I will copy the hexadecimal code directly, which is very useful to go into another application, for example. Same for Boolean. And also a nice feature is about JSON inputs. So this is also a string, but it represents a JSON, and it will automatically format the JSON for you to make it easier to read. So this is very nice, and it's also a good feature to know if the JSON you write is correct. So if at the top here you see type JSON between parentheses, it means that your JSON is correctly formatted. And if I copy this one, we can see the JSON that is actually contained into this this constant string. So this will make a much cleaner editor without very long strings taking over. One change also about the API and the code API, especially the file API, is that if I go into the documentation here, for example, if I take get content as string, which was from a file getting the content as a string if your file is of type text, for example. This was the signature before, so you would code it and you had the on success callback, on failure callback also, and now it's much more easier. It uses a promise directly. So if I go in code quickly, let me switch scene. So this was the previous API. So we see that I call it, and then I have 2 callbacks to do stuff when on success and on error. So with one file, it's actually not that bad, but if you have multiple files, to put in cascade, it wouldn't be easy to write. So the new API is like this, using basically the premise API. So it's much more easier to combine them together. And also this way, you can also use the async await way of writing JavaScript, which is very nice. Let me go back into Firefox. So this is about the promisification, not easy to say, of the file API. One new extension that we added to the marketplace is the ReactGrid extension. So we will actually recreate these examples directly. So let me go back in Draw. So here I have an application and we will add a ReactGrid here. So in my project I already imported the extension. Everything of this extension starts with RG for ReactGrid, and actually there is a lot of documentation inside it with link to other stuff, other documentation. So let me drag and drop here. Let's do something like this. So right now I have no data in it. So first things first, I will add some data. And since I have, so if I go to check my runtime dataset, we see that we have some movie and also the two movie that I created by clicking the button. I will just remove them for now. And those are linked to some genera. So let's go back here and data. If I do get object list of movie, let's see what we have. Directly it detects the different properties of the object and shows the values. Now what is nice with the ReactGrid is that the data objects can be of many formats actually. So right now I have an array or a query result of movies, but I already built another query, get movie with genre, which if we check what it does, is just a query instance of I sort the movie by the title name and then I follow the relation to the genre, and I remove this also, and this will return me a pair of movie with the related genre. So here let's put this into the ReactGrid, and we see that actually it's capable of showing the first object, the movie, and also the genre object right here. So now we see that we have the pair for each movie related to the genre. Maybe I can go a step further, and I coded a little brick for this. No, I call it group. Let's see what we have now. Basically this one groups the genre together. So how it does that, let me go back into the code. Basically first I create a map to group all the movie together, and as the second parameter I have all the genre. So this is just a detail, but basically I group the movies together, and at the end I join all the genre names together. So now I have, if I go, I have another file, data here. So this was the first data I was putting here. It was an array of the different movies that we had. The second step, with the follow relation, we had a pair of movie with the related genre. So I had here a cloud object, here a cloud object. And this action here, or function, basically changes this whole data here into something like this. So here I have an array again, and I have a pair with still the movie as the first element, but the second element this time is a JavaScript object directly, in which I put basically all the names together. So the data of the ReactGrid is very agnostic. You can mix and match basically the cloud object with JavaScript object to create your rows, and this is very, very powerful to create your grid. Here I can also go one step further with add rows number. So if we check here, I don't have any row number. So here, same principle. Sorry, I forgot to change to this scene, but basically I had a new step behind with add row numbers. So this brick is not part of the ReactGrid library right now, but it will probably be added in the future version. But what it does, if I go back in code, it will again change what the structure that we have before into a new structure with a new element at the start, which contains the index number for this line, for this row. And now if I go in my application, we see that we have the index added at the start. So now the ReactGrid is not looking, I mean, we have the data that we want, but it's not looking very nice. So the next step that we can do is to add a configuration to the ReactGrid. So in this parameter config, I can put, so I already prepared the configuration for it. I will show you it right after. So get object list. My computer, it's very intense to stream and show stuff at the same time. Get object list. So I called it movie column config, and let's see what we have now. So we see that we changed the width, we have some new title here, the formatting of the number here is nicer. So let's see how this was created. If I go into my config data model, I basically created a new type and I made it inherit. If I search for RG, we have column config here, which thanks to the new Spec&Doc for data type has a lot of information about what you can do with it. And from here, I can create a config dataset. And basically, for each column ordered by the rank, I can put basically format how I want it to be. So as our input is a tuple of 3 elements, I can access the first element like this and then access the property. And that's what we do for each column. And also here it's agnostic, you don't need to know if it's a JavaScript object or a cloud object, it will work in both cases. I can override the header, change the width, there is different type of cell. You can do put some options, so for the number here I change the format a little bit. You can put a column as editable or not, and resizable or not. So let's go back here and explore a little bit more what possibility we have. I can enable the range selection, so it will allow me to do stuff like this and then copy it, into Excel or paste from Excel. I can enable the column selection, which allows me to do a quick column selection like this, as the name suggests. Row selection the same, but for the row. Enable column reordering, so I can reorder the columns like this. The data as we saw it. The fill handle, very powerful one, but if I add a new movie here, the fill handle is this little square at the bottom right. Let me show you after, I know why. But basically it will allow me to move the data that is here to the top, like in Excel. It doesn't work right now because we don't have a process change, but I will show you that just after. I can remove or not the header, change the default row height, the default width of a column, and I can also put some column and rows as sticky. So for example, let's put the header, the top row, as sticky. So when we scroll, it will also always show it. So we saw how to put data inside the grid, how to modify how it looks with the configuration. Now, how to react to changes when somebody types something or use the fill handles. We need to put a process change here, which will tell how to change your data. So let it create the function, and basically we will receive an array of changes. So let's put a log just to check how it looks. Let's call it changes. If I go here, if I want to change this date to 2004, we see that we receive an array of changes with the object that was changes, the property here, we have the old value and the new value, and then we have some metadata additionally. But basically what is the most important are these 4 values. And from here I can iterate on this array and then do a new transaction to change it. Maybe I can do a call to an API if I want to before changing the content of the grid. Here, since I'm manipulating a cloud object, we have some default behavior which is very common, which is, for example, process changes for cloud objects, which basically does this for me directly. So I don't have to, if I have a grid of cloud objects, I can directly use this one. And now if I do this, I can basically use the fill handle, sorry, my movie, and really edit the data in a spreadsheet-like fashion. So this is very nice. And we have 99. So that's it for the ReactGrid. So don't hesitate to test it. It's a very powerful one. Let's go to the last part, other improvement that we have. So for example, the inline editor now is able to remember the type of inputs. So if I go back here, if I take my long names again, before, when you had a constant value like this, now it goes directly into the correct, I mean I can directly edit here the color, here I can directly edit the number. Before you had to do 2 clicks to do that, now it's directly, so this is a nice quality of life change. We can now move data type. This is a huge one. So let's imagine you're in your project. As your project grows, maybe you will put everything in the same data model. For example, I don't know, yeah, a second big data model that creates on the side of this one about, I don't know, a shop on the website. And it becomes a bit messy. Before, it was not possible to change this in any way, or not easily, I mean. Now, if I create a new data model, which I will call, where I will have my shop models, and now it's possible directly from the menu here to move it into another data model, just like this. And now maybe I can rename it movie models, this one. And if I go into the shop model, it moves. So this is very cool to reorganize application. Remote action can correctly set the application context. So this was a small issue that we had, that in remote action, when you use the brick get application context or set application context, actually it was not working in a proper way. So this is fixed, so now you can use it. So it's very useful to share states between your different remote action call. Improve the documentation windows of bricks. So this is about, if I go to this one and I want to check a documentation windows, for example, to add to lists. What is new is now that before I did not know from where this brick was coming from. Now I have the path to the actual library, sorry, that in draw. And in some case, if it's something that is built in core, for example, for the moment, I can directly access the source code of the brick on GitHub to check how it's done. So this is very nice. Keep the last latent model in the runtime dataset. So I don't know if you noticed, but before, this is also a quality of life improvement. But when you were going into a runtime dataset or config dataset, sorry, you were always going to the first one here. Now it remembers, so if I go into genre, I go back in, it's still genre. If I'm in movie, I go back in, I'm still in movie. So this is very nice quality improvement. And last one, the zooming in editor in some cases was not the same depending on your screen resolution. This is also fixed now. And one last change, which is a breaking change, but a good one, is the brick get from JSON. If I go here, breaking change. Let's for example, I have a JSON object which has a property which contains an empty array. Let me open the console. And here I just log what I receive when I want to access this property. Here now I correctly receive an empty array, but before it would have print null here in place. So this was not the correct behavior, so now this is fixed. But in your application, if you use this get from JSON brick, maybe you need to do some changes about this one. So down in the release note we can see also how to use it if you want to change your environment. And lastly, also one big feature of this release is the no downtime deployment. So this is not really about draw, it's more about in your higher environment when you want to publish a new version and you want to lower as much as possible your downtime. This is a way, a new feature that is now available. And if I go, the only thing that we will see in draw is that, for example, in my movie application, now in the property I have a on upgrade done here, and if I set it, for example, I can show an alert dialog like the application just refreshed, and I can, when the user click OK, directly refresh the application. And by default, if you don't set any special behavior, it will show this pop-up in which the user can continue to use the application or refresh directly. So that's it about, so don't hesitate to contact us about this one. So yeah, that's it about the 2.9. So in the description of the video, of the live, and for people that watch the video afterwards, you can find all the links relevant to this version, and you will also find the link to our Discord. If you have any question, don't hesitate to contact us there. So yeah, that's it for the presentation. So if you have any question, don't hesitate. Hi, Nisam. And yeah, don't hesitate to like and subscribe if you want to not miss the next stream, and to get in touch for any big news. The next one will probably be in a few weeks, and we will have a big feature for a much better collaboration in Draw. So can't wait to show you that. And yeah, if you have any question, don't hesitate to join the Discord. The link is in the description. So thank you, everybody. Have a good end of the day or start of the day, depending of where you're at. And thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.